This movie was way more mean-spirited than the first one. Obviously, the first one was kind of weird and mean-spirited. Like, a girl gets cut in half, and the other girl gets her face eaten off of. But since this movie had a bigger budget, they went crazy. There's just a lot of torture and death scenes going on for several minutes. Really felt unnecessary. I'm someone that does like gory kills in horror movies because horror movies are supposed to scare you and disturb you, but someone getting their skin ripped off and bleach and salt and all this stuff poured onto them and being just absolutely tortured for several minutes while her mom comes in to see it. That's a bit much. A bit much. Also because, killing kids for obvious reasons is mostly frowned upon in horror movies. When they do it, it's usually incredibly censored, like in Pet Sematary. And I think it happened in the original Frankenstein. Whenever it happens, it's usually hardly any gore, or it's just said it happens. Which I always find weird because a lot of horror movies involve high schoolers. Of course, the actors aren't actually usually high schoolers. They're like in their 30s and 20s. But they're still supposed to be like 15, 16, something in horror movies, and they get brutally killed, so it's weird that minors aren't considered, off limits if they're teenagers, but if they're 10 or 9, you can't kill them. Anyways, this movie is way weirder than the first one. Obviously, the first one was weird, but this one was very odd. They had like this whole schizophrenic dad plot that thought his daughter was destined to kill Art or something, and the victim, only surviving victim from the first movie, gives birth to Art's head. That's a post-credit scene too. It's not in the actual movie, which is weird because Chris Jericho is listed pretty high on the cast and the credits, and he's not in the movie until the post-credits. So I was like, what? He wasn't in this movie. And then I watch after the credits, and there he is. I think he would be on the very bottom, since he's not in the till the post credits, but he's pretty high up there. And also, like, most of the women death scenes are way longer and way more brutal. That's what it seems to me, anyway. The guy from the first movie, it actually opens up with how the first movie ended with, him being in the place and the doctor, he's about to perform the autopsy. And the movie opens up with him having his throat slit and trying to get help. Then Art kills him. Art also kills like this worker employee thing. It's pretty brutal, but it's nowhere near as brutal as the 2 death scenes to women in this movie. Allie's mom and Allie, a few other characters. Actually, surprisingly enough, is an off-screen death in this movie where Art kills Allie's mom off screen and turns her head into like a thing to hold candy in. I do like that, unlike most movies, they try and follow what the original movie was about. Because usually when you watch sequels, they mention 1 or 2 important events and then they just kind of move on. But this movie really felt like a sequel. They talk about the news reporter incident like it just happened, because this movie takes place, right after. It was pretty cool. I like that about this movie, but I Wasn't a fan of how long the death scenes went on and how brutal they were. Just not my type of thing. And I honestly didn't really care for this movie that much. But if you like this movie, I guess that's cool.